Well, I finally joined the crowd. There's been so much attention on YouTube and on websites and on media in general about this whole new Moon movie coming out. And I decided, because I've never actually seen Twilight, that I would actually cave in and go and rent it and watch it to see what all the fuss was about. And I don't know, it was a very strange experience, because I should start by saying that I haven't read any of the Twilight Saga books. I hadn't seen anything about Twilight. In all honesty, I didn't even know what Twilight was about. All I knew was that it had something to do with vampires, but beyond that I had no idea whatsoever. So I went into it with a pretty open mind, and I watched the film, and I'll be honest, it wasn't bad. It wasn't the greatest movie in history. It certainly wasn't the worst movie in history. I would probably, if I was to give it a rating, it would probably be 3 stars out of 5. It was okay, but I wouldn't exactly sort of write home and say it was the best thing I've ever seen ever in my entire life ever. And I think there was a problem there because, for starters, this book is... Oh, the books, I'm presuming, are fairly faithful to the movie, or the movie is fairly faithful to the books. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't read the books. But from what I've heard, the movie is pretty close to what the books were. But I think it must be a generational thing, because it's sort of... I don't know, it seems to have been aimed at a certain market, and it probably wasn't me, because I didn't find this to be the best movie in history, but that's probably because I'm not a 12-year-old girl. I must admit, sort of, the movie was very cliched. They didn't really sort of offer a lot that was very unique in the way of sort of vampire telling stories and things like that, with the exception of perhaps this is probably the first film I've seen where vampires, instead of dying or burning or whatever when they step into sunlight, the vampires in the Twilight Saga shimmer with glitter. And it kind of didn't work. Like, I didn't get the reference there, because, like, maybe I'm sort of stereotypical here, but when I see a guy covered in glitter, I don't instantly think, oh my god, he's a vampire. I think, oh my god, I didn't know a new gay club had opened nearby. Maybe it's just me, but that's probably just the way my brain works. But it just seemed really sort of like a pretty average film, and I will probably get torn apart for this, because there are some pretty over-the-top Twilight fans out there. I mean, I was reading in the paper the other day about how the whole Twilight New Moons thing has spawned this new social phenomenon of people going out and joining vampire covens. People who actually claim that they are vampires and get together and dance and sing and drink blood and all this sort of weird thing, which sort of brings me back to the 90s, where shows like Charmed, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and stuff had really started to bring up this occult thing, especially Wicca, which I admittedly find to be really funny, because Wicca is kind of virtually, historically speaking, is virtually impossible to sort of determine what's real and what's just been made up by writers, because there were a lot of people going around in sort of the mid-1990s who were telling people that they were Wiccans and they were witches and they were buying spell books and crystals and stones and all this sort of stuff to do spells and all this stuff, and it was all just attention-seeking nonsense. And I think that's what this whole vampire cult thing as well is. I mean, reading the paper the other day, I was just sort of going, I'm sorry, but if you turn up to me and say, hi, I'm a vampire, my response is not going to be, oh, okay, it's going to be loser! But anyway, off topic. As I said, I saw Twilight, and I don't think it was the best movie in history, but maybe it's just me. Maybe it's a generational thing. So what's your opinion? Have you seen Twilight? Are you absolutely obsessed with it? What's your opinion of it? Are you going to be going to see New Moon? I'm seriously tempted to go and actually see New Moon to see if it's actually better than Twilight, because there's been so much publicity about it. It's got to be something. I want to see if the publicity is justified. So let me know what you think about the whole Twilight Saga, and I'll talk to you later.